Hey, Jimbo, you ready for this deal?
Light the fuse, Cody.
Old stories like long-lost friends, rodeos and late-night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, Cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, friends and neighbors. Time once again for the Cowboys of the Osage podcast with your host, Jimbo Snively and Cody Garnett. Now let's sing a little bit about it. Cowboys of the Osage, riding once again. Always got some time for a friend. And here they are, the Cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, the Buck and Flamingo Turquoise Shop, all located in historic downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Oh yeah, I can't forget Shorty's Cowboy Hattery, the official cowboy hat of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast. Be sure and check them out too. They're in Oklahoma City. Hey, it's old Cody over here, and as always, I have my main man with me, Mr. Rodeo historian himself, heck of a songwriter too, Jimbo Snively. Morning, Jimbo.
Morning,
Who are we
Cody.
talking to today?
Hey, it's a great day in Osage, man. And Cody, you know we always have the world's champions and the movie stars and the top hands here in Osage County, and we
right.
usually end up interviewing them. And we've got the top hand, you know, the big ranch rodeo finals they have down in Amarillo every year.
The World Championship.
The World Championship.
In Amarillo
Ranch
every
Rodeo.
year.
And we've got not only was he on the winning team, he was the top hand, and that's as big as it gets in ranch rodeo.
That's like winning the all-around at the National Finals Rodeo or something.
Yeah, it'd be equivalent to that.
Yeah.
And anyway,
Probably the biggest prize they give out there.
Yeah, it is.
I'd have to say.
Yeah, in that realm, it is. And he's born and bred Osage County hand. So we're going to visit with him about everything ranch rodeo and Osage County cowboying.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Corey, welcome to the Cowboys of the Osage podcast.
Appreciate it.
We're glad to have you. I guess you were raised up. Where were you raised up at? Exactly?
I grew up west of town on Drummond's. Yep. That's what I was there. Till I was about 15, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's a historic name in ranch in Osage County ranching and at Drummond's.
You know, I think about them, and I think about, it's a family that's held on to the ranch. It's still in the family for way over 100 years, and you don't see that very often. Normally the kids have done sold it off and built a subdivision on it.
Yeah, because you have different kids, and some of them aren't interested, and they want the money out of it when they inherit it. They want the money out of it. They don't want to fool with the ranching, so the rest of them have to end up selling it or keep splitting it up or cutting it up. But to keep it all together like that is...
Sounds like a lot of hard work.
Yeah. But anyway, so you grew up wanting to be a cowboy, I guess?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just natural, wasn't it?
That's all I knew.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it goes when you're raised up in it, for sure. You just don't know any better.
Yeah. So I guess you grew up working on the ranch, and how young were you when you started doing stuff?
I was going, I don't really remember it. It was far enough back that I don't remember it, but Dad said that he took me when I was 3-4 years old. He talks about doctoring wheat cattle, just dropping the reins on whatever horse I was riding and taking off and going and doctoring cattle. And he said I'd be sitting there crying on my horse, and he'd get done, he'd come back, and grab a lead rope, and we'd go on again. So
now, was your dad working for Drummond's then?
Yes,
okay.
Sir. Yep.
And we're talking about his dad, John Hurd, who's
good guy. He's got his own podcast. What's it called? Herd Mentality. Everybody check it out.
Yeah.
It's a good one, I bet.
But he's an iconic cowboy figure of Osage County, been here a long time, and worked for Ted Turner and all that, just real famous.
Hey, for everybody that's never worked on a ranch, I just talked to a guy a while ago. They're all in the branding pen. They're working their calves this morning. What are the rules, the unofficial, unspoken rules of the branding pen when you go in it?
It just depends on kind of where you're from. People's got different rules. I don't. It's hard to say. Honestly, there's so many of them.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of rules. There's a lot of unspoken rules. There's a lot of rules that you need to know whether you know them or not.
You know, I know one of them that I go by. I won't hardly bring a calf to the fire by 1 foot. You know, if I've got 2 feet and he slips it, then you know it happens. But you know, I kind of give somebody a hard time if they take one leg and come on with it. A lot of guys are starting to use North Force now.
What is that?
So it's basically staked off in the ground, and it eliminates your flanking crew.
Okay.
You got a guy that it's a U-shaped with a handle. When that calf comes by, you just slip it over his head. Rope comes tight. It stretches him out, and that kind of you get to your 2 feet. He's held by 2 feet. You don't have to adjust your rope or nothing. You know, you slip it over, it gets tight. He's flat on the side, and you go to working him. And I know some crews, well, if you got 2 forks, you know, you only drag to one side, the other guy drags to the other. You know, it just kind of depends on where you're at and what they're doing.
Do most of your crews, after they get done cutting one, do they put the testicles in their mouth and shake their head back and forth? Is that?
I don't really see that.
You don't see that. I've seen that a few times.
Any
Guy
of them,
cutting some
you
horses.
go to Rodeo. My boys there. As soon as you go to cutting them, if you got that branding pot fired up, they're cooking nuts. They've got them laid out. And they'll keep everybody full up on breakfast.
What do y'all do? Just put them right over the fire?
Yeah. We still use a branding pot. You know, it's probably a 6-inch piece of pipe. You stick your torch in, and they'll just lay them nuts over the top of that pipe, and then things, they'll pop. Yeah. They'll pop open. When they pop open, them kids, they say they're done. And
I like mine rolled in flour.
Well, I don't mind them so much deep fried, but raw, all right on top of the branding pit.
I'm still mad because I couldn't sell enough of those calf tables. Everybody wanted to drag calves.
Well, no one wants a calf table, Jimbo.
I know. I found that out after I built about 5 or 6.
You can't make a good horse with a calf table.
I guess so.
Don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but that's the farmer way of doing it.
Yeah, I guess
that's the way I see it.
Yeah. I ain't got nothing against farmers. Just sometimes ranchers and farmers don't see eye to eye.
Right. That's usually a question I ask. Somebody says, "Hey, you know, we're going to drag calves, or we're going to work some calves." That's usually one of the first. Well, you going to drag them, or you going to run them through the table? And that kind of depends on if I want to go or not.
Right.
You know, when we were working cattle growing up, Jimbo, about all I remember about it is it took an extreme large amount of cold beer, and it was getting hot by the end of the day, but it didn't matter. It just took a lot of beer at our house to get a day done working cattle, branding and stuff.
Right. You just, whatever it takes, Cody. You start early, but hot always catches you before you're done.
For sure.
So how'd you get into ranch rodeo?
I started the ranch rodeos. So when I was in high school, growing up, I was always on one of Drummond's teams. Usually in the fall, back then, during the cattlemen's rodeo in the fall, it was a 2-night rodeo. I remember it being a 2-night rodeo, and Drummond's always had enough cowboys. They always had 2 teams in it. So even when I was little, I mean, I remember being in the wild cow milking and holding horses. You know, just they had me doing something. So I kind of got into it then. And then as we got into high school, there still wasn't any of this youth ranch rodeo that goes on right now. And we even had a bunch of us high school kids put a team together, and we'd get in these ranch rodeos just to do it. You know, I've never team roped. I've never entered any kind of ropings, I never grew up rodeoing. It's just everything. And that was kind of my get to go to town and get in the arena and rodeo was to go to a ranch rodeo.
What makes cowboys want to be cowboys? I mean, that lifestyle, what appeals to you about it?
It's hard for me to say just because I was born into it. You know, it was all I know. But I do know guys that wasn't born into it, and they've become pretty good hands. You know, I think a lot of it is just the culture. You know, and people still see that the lifestyle is still out there, and that's what goes on. And you know, there's still people that appreciate it and want to be part of it. I was lucky enough to be born into it and do it. And even my kids now, you know, there's times they're like, oh, we don't want to do that, or, you know, we don't. Right. And I'm like, one of these days, you know, you're going to look back. And I remember when I was little, you know, it was just, you had to do it. And, but you look back on it now and you appreciate everything you grew up doing. Right. You know, it seems like it's it's kind of like everybody says, it's a dying breed,
Right.
You know.
What do you say to the old cowboys say, well, you guys got it easy now with your four-wheelers and your overhead bulk feeders?
Yeah,
and all that?
my grandpa, you know, he was a cowboy, and you hear stories of kind of say like Dad talk and the colts he had to ride and the stuff that they did, and,
Right.
and that's what he was like your grandpa. He's like he never rode a broke horse. He said everything he rode was, you know, either trying to buck him off or, you know,
Right.
trying to kill him when he was trying to catch him, and he said that's just how it was.
Yeah.
I think now you get into a little more, you know, people are a lot more apt on how horses are bred, you know, buying
Right.
these, you know, riding these hybrid horses. It's not as, I don't think it's as rough as it used to be. But
Well, they got feed trucks and stuff now. Chuck Drummond was telling me a story before he died there, Jimbo. I went and spent some time with him up there, and he said that they had these cake houses everywhere, and they'd get these big sacks,
Yep.
fill them up with cake, and just put one on each side of his saddle and go feed his cattle.
Yeah.
He said it could be the dead of winter.
Yeah. My
know.
grandpa worked up Chapman Barnard, and he said that the snow would be blowing so bad sometimes he couldn't find the feed grounds until he rode into the cattle. Then he knew he was at the feed ground. And then he'd look for the cake house, find it, and then get some feed out of it and feed them right there. But it's crazy.
Yeah.
And plus everything was 100-pound sacks of feed back
Yeah.
then. They didn't know what a 50-pound bag of feed was.
You can still see cake houses. There's still some
Yeah,
kind of
right.
scattered out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, that's just wild, you know, that's how they used to feed their cattle. And, you know, I can only imagine having to ride your horse out there and chop all that ice. Now they just drive a
Right.
feed truck out with a chainsaw and think. And some guys even have a backhoe they go chop up
Yeah.
ponds with now.
Yeah. I know. It's different, but it's still all good.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
How do you break? How do the Cowboys today break it? Do they get them already started, or pretty much?
There's still guys. I mean, it just kind of depends who you are. There's still guys that start a lot of their own horses and break their own horses. There's a lot of guys that are their main string is take in horses. You know, they'll take in horses from other
Right.
people, and that's where they spend their time. I feel like there's a lot more money in the horse market and stuff going around right now.
Well, it's unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this. in
It's
the horse
hard to
market.
it's hard to go, you know, buy horses, and especially if guys just wanting, you know.
You know, right before this pandemic hit, you know, horses were almost at an all-time low. You know, the resale value wasn't very good on most horses, and all of a sudden, when that thing hit, every horse went through the roof.
Yep.
You know, it was crazy, and no signs of looking back right now. They're still going through the roof.
So if a ranch had a bunch of mares, brood mares, and raising their own colts, there'd be one or two guys that were kind of specialized in breaking those colts, or
Yeah, you really don't see
don't see that much
that
anymore.
much anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you still got ranches. You know, Drummonds they still raise their horses. I mean, there's still ranches around here that do it. I know growing up, Drummonds had their deal going, and they had guys that would start them horses, and they'd send, you know, a lot of them they was raising cutting horses, and a lot of the horses that we'd get back would be reject cutters that wasn't, you know, just wasn't quick enough for the cutting pin or just didn't
Right.
quite have what it takes. Well, then it got thrown in the Cowboy string, and we rode some pretty nice horses. I had a horse that I rode, I was probably, I don't know, 4th, 5th grade, and he would eat a cow alive. I don't know what it was about him that he didn't make the cutting pin, but he was super nice. But you got to ride some pretty nice kind of horses, you know, and make real good ranch horses.
Right. Now they've got all these videos now on how to do this to or train. You know, everybody's an expert now,
Yep.
probably. You know.
Yep.
My son's
Yeah.
been, that's what he does for a living
Right.
now, Jimbo. And believe it or not, he goes around and finds these old videotapes of like Buster Welch and those types of guys saying what they did to a horse. And he searches them all out, and he don't go on any of the new. He finds all these real obscure videotapes, and he's looking at a lot of the old ways of doing it.
My grandfather, when he left this country as a teenager to go to Arizona to work on a ranch, and they pay him $35 a month if he broke horses, and if you just worked on the ranch, they just paid you $25. So he wanted to break horses, and he said they'd snub them up, saddle them up, ride them around the round pen a little bit, and open the gate and just take them to pasture, and didn't care what they did. You know, at that point, and that's how they broke them, made them.
Yep. And it seems like these days everybody leans a lot more, or of course what you see on Facebook and everything else, but it's groundwork, you
right,
know, and I'm still one of them. The sooner you can get on his back and go to put miles on him, I mean, that's the best thing for him.
Yeah. So you're old school, even though you're young.
It's the way I'd rather do it.
Right.
I get bored sitting in a round pen.
Right.
Are you the bronc rider on your ranch rodeo team most of the time?
I am. I was actually thought I was going to retire this year, and they taught me out of it.
Oh yeah.
So
It looks like you're still in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it feels like it every once in a while, and then other times that my body's telling me that I probably ought to get ready to give it up.
How did you guys qualify for the national finals out in Amarillo?
So the first year, we qualified at the second to last rodeo, Medicine Lodge, Kansas, and that was the first year any of us, besides Cody Hayden, had ever.
What team were you on?
That was Sooners.
Sooners Land and Cattle?
Yeah, that had been three years ago, I think.
Okay.
So we got qualified on it, and that was our first trip out there. And shoot, we were just pumped to go. I rodeoed on a WRCA team for 14 years before
you ever got
every year.
punched your ticket to the big show.
That's the whole goal, is to make it to Amarillo, and it took me 14 years to get there.
Well, how does a team make it?
So you got to. They've got qualifiers all throughout the year.
I think there's not very many. You know,
I
11 or 12.
Yeah, I think
qualifiers.
I think last year they bumped it up where they take 25 teams. I think we had 25 teams last year.
Okay, wow.
So you got to win a rodeo to qualify, and then that's how you get out there to.
So you have to win first place at one of their qualifier rodeos.
Yeah, the only other way is if a team that wins first is already qualified, then they'll go to second place team. And,
Gotcha.
And get first place still gets all the first place prizes, but second place will get their chance to go if first place is already qualified.
Gotcha. The guys that are still going, they're already qualified, but they're going for some money.
they're just going for the money and the practice.
Gotcha.
And we'll hit, even if we get qualified earlier, we've got certain rodeos that we go to every year that we'll still go to, even if we get qualified or not, just to go and say get the practice and try to win money.
What'd you think about it when that first time you made it out there? What was the atmosphere like? What was going on?
It was, I don't really want to say shock, but it was almost a relief, but then, can't believe, especially like there's been a few of us that rodeoed for so many years trying to make it, and then actually, hey, we're going to go. Well, then when we did it, I think that rodeo is sometime September, maybe October, so you only had a month and a half to get ready for Amarillo, and then it was, scrambling. We didn't know what to expect at Amarillo, what the cost was to get out there and everything else, so we're scrambling around trying to figure out what we need to do, and of course then, guys are trying to figure out day workers to come take their spot because they're fixing to be gone from the ranch for a week.
Yeah.
It was a lot to process in a short amount of time, but we were ready to go.
How do you practice for a ranch rodeo, or do you just ranch work? Or?
Honestly, we don't. It seems like right there, we've qualified 3 years in a row now for Amarillo, and I think the only time we ever, if you even call it practice, is right before then. We'll go to the arena and rope a little bit, but other than that, it's just those events, the way they're set up, it's basically the same stuff you do every day. So it's.
Yeah, but you kind of have to coordinate, don't you? I mean, like say you're going to do this and all.
Yeah, we've got on our team. Everybody plays their strengths. I ride the bronc. We've got somebody who rope the cow. We've got somebody who drags the calves. You pick your best guy and you put them in. And if you want to go in, that's what you gotta do. You gotta play your strengths.
You're serious about it.
Yes, sir.
What are the standard events for those people who don't know?
You'll have your ranch bronc riding. You'll have your sorting. Or team pinning, whichever direction the rodeo wants to go with it. You'll have your wild cow milking, stray gathering, and calf dragging. I don't think I said calf dragging. I'll have calf dragging. And that's kind of your basic. That's about every rodeo we go to will have those events.
Right. What was your strength, the bronc riding?
I ride the bronc, and then in the stray gathering, I usually take the first head loop on whatever we're going to rope. That's kind of my two.
So best roper and the best rider. What else is it?
I don't know if I'd call best roper. Usually,
what about
them guys heeling behind us? They kind of all the pressure's on them.
He's got to do pretty good because to win the top hand, they took his overall performance, not just his bronc riding, not just his roping, not just this or that. I mean, he was literally the best guy out there.
Is it based strictly on how you performed, or are there judges watching you? Or?
They've got top hand judges.
Okay.
I'm not sure how many they have out there at Amarillo, but they've got guys designated just to go to watching. Same way the top horse, you know, they've got guys watching horses, they got guys watching Cowboys, and then they'll get together after that.
Well, that's really a big deal out there. I mean, they draw good crowds and everything.
That thing, it's hard to describe. When you ride in that arena, it's a little bitty arena. It's not very big at all, and we go in there beforehand.
It's downtown, isn't it?
Yeah.
You got to haul your horses downtown every day, or
no? They've got a place there to keep them
downtown.
Yeah,
Well,
they've got
a big
covered.
tent.
They got a big covered. It's just one big covered pad out there, and they got a bunch of stalls set up underneath it. And they got security and everything stays there 24/7, watching your horses and your stuff. But
They got a big old fairgrounds over there with, you know, that holds more people and easier to park, but they still have this thing downtown in the old downtown Coliseum. That's pretty neat.
yeah, we're actually going this weekend to out there for it'd be our first qualifier that we're going to. Be this coming up weekend, and it's at the fairgrounds. And I really like that arena. I mean, but they say that they don't have everything for the trade show and you know everything else to pull it in like they need to. So
yeah, that's their deal.
Yeah.
It is a nice fairgrounds though.
Right.
yeah,
for sure.
But you ride in there and you see all them empty seats, like our first trip, and you're like, this is pretty neat. And when you go in there Friday, Saturday night, and it's sold out and packed full of people, it's a big crowd. It's a show for sure.
So it's a 2-day deal?
It's a 4-day deal.
4 day.
You rodeo Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Wow.
Last year the tickets sold out in like 10 minutes, Jimbo. All of them.
Yeah. I know it. I've seen video of it on, you know, just big old crowds and stuff, you know.
What's the stray gathering for everybody who don't know what that is?
Stray gathering, they turn out 2 steers. Most of the time they turn them out at one end, you start at the other, and you'll go down, you'll head, heel the steer, and tie them down. They'll kind of change up the rules every once in a while on loop limits and stuff like that, but for the main part, you go rope 2 and tie them down.
Do you have to heel him, or can someone go down and mug him?
You'll go to rodeos every once in a while, they'll have it.
If they got roping steers, I'd say, let's go down and mug him. You know,
usually then they'll call it like a double mugging or something. You got to hit him, but at this deal, you have to heel these steers.
Okay.
And like I said, some places you'll have a loop limit, some won't. Amarillo, they put a loop limit on it, and it gets fast. And
well, you rope them, and then you heel them, and then you stretch them out.
And
then someone has to get down and tie their legs, right?
Yeah, usually, you know, it's 4-man event, so, I mean, it's just you and another guy, so your healer, once they heal him, they'll kind of hold them feet. Head will get off, tail him down, and then he'll either tie him or he'll hold him down as healer. He'll get off, tie him down.
Did you all get off to a good start? That year you won it, did you get off to a good start?
Yeah, we had luck was on our side that rodeo. I mean, everything we did, and so we went our first year, and we was just kind of there, you know. We was happy to make it. And then the next year on our way down there, we was driving out there. I told my wife, I said, we're gonna win this rodeo, and she's like, oh yeah. She's like, well, I was like, I just feel like we're gonna win this rodeo, and after that first night, you do half your events one night, half your events the next night, and then you start over Saturday, Sunday. And the first night, we kind of had our tougher events, and we did real good. And so it just kind of thought, shoot, you know, that worked. You know, we did good. And then we went out Friday night and had another good night. Well, after Friday night, the first round, we was winning. We won the first go-round. And we thought, shoot, yeah, we're feeling good. Well, now it's kind of, you know, do you have the pressure of, you going to stay on top, or, you know, do we safety up and just try to get a time and everything, or are we going to go? And we all, you know, we was there to win it, and we never pulled up, and we ran away with it.
Who were some of the other ranches that were there? Probably some pretty iconic names.
Yeah, the 4-6s were there.
Wow.
We had, I can't remember, there was quite a few teams from this area. There's usually quite a few teams from around here that goes. Chris Potter's team's always there. I don't even remember who was out there that year, but you'll see Tongue River. There's quite a few Texas teams.
Yeah, you probably get to know them, don't you?
Oh yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. You get to know those people, and there's some pretty good guys.
Is it pretty cutthroat, or are y'all buddies?
Oh, I mean, everybody. If you're not in the way the Amarillo is, they've got a tunnel that goes down into the arena, and you kind of hit that tunnel. It's just you and maybe one or two other teams. Everybody else waits outside. You sit outside in the warm-up pen. So when you're out there in the warm-up pen, everybody's usually just sitting around visiting and just kind of waiting their turn. So you get to know a lot of people and get to visit with a lot of people.
Yeah. What was that Saturday night like when you won it?
Well, that'd have been on Sunday. So going into Sunday, we knew we had a chance, and there was a lot of pressure there. And I actually had to ride my second bronc on Sunday, and it was the first. I was going to be first set out, and all Sunday morning, it was just keeping mentally in your head, don't psych yourself out, don't get worked up, just go do your job, do what you need to do, and
that's easier said than done.
Yeah, it is.
Do they still use the Vold string of broncs out there?
It's Vold's horses.
Harry Vold's daughter, Kristen, she's still carrying on the family name and taking the broncs. I think they took the broncs the first year out there, and they've had it every year since.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
They're good broncs too. They're stout. They sure enough test everybody. But yeah, and then once I got by him, it was just, we kind of knew what we had to do, just get through it. And I can't remember what our last event was, but we had people before it coming up congratulating us. They was like, you guys got it won. I was like, well, we still got one more event. And people were keeping books, and they were like, well, you can no time this event. You're still going to, you got enough points racked up. You're still going to win the rodeo. And
boy, that's a way better feeling than all you had to do was catch.
Yeah. But we wasn't keeping up with it, and we didn't want to let up. And we got done, and up until they announced our name at the awards deal, it was just, you just had that kind of nervous feeling. You thought you had it won, but you never know the way the points work and everything else. Somebody mess up, but yeah, when they finally announced it, it was. I mean, that's what you rodeo for, right there.
When did you know you were going to be the top hand?
I didn't know it. I had a couple guys kind of come up to me that day and congratulate us on a good rodeo. Like I said, people already thought we had it won, and then I had some guys tell me, top hand right here, and I was like, oh, that was the last thing on my mind. I've never won top hand before, then, and I wasn't going there to win top hand. I mean,
you never won it at any place, and here you go down there, the biggest one in the world.
Yeah, and it wasn't on my radar. And the way we rodeo, we don't rodeo as a team for one guy to really excel. Like I said, we play our strengths and just rodeo as a team. We were there to win it as a team. Right. And yeah, when they announced that, it was quite a shock, really.
What'd your wife think of that?
Oh, she was proud. I say that. I think that's what she expects. She just more,
she knew you were top hand, did she?
Yeah.
What all do you get to win the top hand out there?
I got all kinds of stuff. Yeti cooler. I got a buckle, pair of spurs. I got a huge trailer that I got to pull for a year. I won a saddle. I don't. Honestly.
They needed that trailer to pull home to haul all those prizes home.
Yeah, well, we brought it home and the team trailer, so we had to. Actually, I think my dad pulled our team trailer home. I had somebody else pull my trailer that I pulled out there, and then I pulled that top hand trailer home. So we had to kind of shuffle everything around to get everything back this way. But yeah, the prizes they give out there, it's unreal. I don't know how much money they worth the prizes they give away, but it is a bunch.
As big as that's getting, how do you keep it from getting like professional? I mean, just like where you recruit a bronc rider.
So the WRCA has rules on a qualifying team. To even be a team, you have to run so many cattle. Like the ranch itself, you got to prove that you're a working ranch, and then to be on a team, even as a day worker, you have to prove, with the W-2 or 1099 that you make so much money a year working for that ranch. It can't. It's not just like, hey, I'm gonna grab so and so because they're good at this, and put a team together. So a guy probably could throw a team together, but you got to move some paperwork around.
Yeah.
And it's they make it to where they're pretty strict on
Yeah.
And then they go through when you apply for your card every year. They go through a process and to either approve a team or they go to looking into stuff and making sure everybody qualifies to be on that team.
Yeah, you have to actually work for that ranch, Jimbo.
Right.
That you're competing for.
Sure. But I didn't know if maybe you could just hire somebody for a week and say, now you work for us and you're going to go down there and ride broncs.
I guess if you're good enough to.
But like you said, that 1099, they got to prove that
they've got to prove that
ranch Cowboys.
Yep, you got to prove so much, and I can't remember what the set number is, but you got to make so much money,
Right.
in that year to qualify.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. Keep it like
it is. You go to some of these open rodeos and stuff, and like you said, you'll go to seeing teams put together, and shoot, then you go to seeing some of these fancy ropers coming in there, and they're smoking it to them guys, and so it knocks a lot of that back. But it keeps it where, sure enough, their deal's a working ranch cowboy.
right. Keep it real.
Yep.
Yeah, I entered one time, Jimbo, and we won it just because I caught when we were roping pretty much. But I went down there in the double mugging, though, or the stray gathering to try to tie the steer, and the guys were getting off their horse trying to get down there to help me tie the steer. I was like, hold on, boys. I can tie this. It's just a roping steer,
Right.
But, yeah, the only one I ever went to, Jimbo.
Yeah. Well, you're a roper. You wasn't a cowboy.
No, you're right. I didn't have any business being on that ranch's team, for sure. Those guys do a
Well,
lot.
how does that change your life winning that?
It was something to check off my list, but other than that, it was
Still just Corey.
we just came home and right back to
back
whatever
to
we
work.
was doing. You catch a little slack from some people,
Right,
you get in the dragon pen, you miss a loop, everybody wants to give you a hard time or something like that, but
Top hand my butt.
yeah.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah. Everybody's asking, how'd you win that? You can't even
Right.
catch a calf.
Right.
Well, roping's a pretty humbling sport sometimes.
Boy, it is.
Really is.
That time you think you got it figured out, you find out you don't.
Once you think you're good, reality hits sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
That wasn't the only team you guys had out there for Sooners that year, was it?
No, our youth team, they qualified that year, and they ended up winning the whole deal,
How
too.
crazy is that? The youth team, the adult team, and their top hand, all from right here in the Osage.
It's great. Well, I was expecting it, to be honest with you, Jimbo.
Were you?
I was going to be disappointed if that didn't happen.
Yeah, but I bet it's never happened before, has it?
That was the first time.
I bet.
Yep, and two of those kids on the youth team are on our men's team, too. So
Right.
two of them kids were two-time world champions same weekend.
And then the next year, I think some boys from here ended up winning it. Last year,
Yep, last year.
the youth, didn't they?
Yep.
Didn't we interview those kids? Remember?
We did the kids. Yeah, was
Yeah,
that
we
the ones from last
we interviewed the kids. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
They won it last year too.
Yeah.
Well, we're kind of getting greedy out there. I don't think there's been but 25 or 26 top hands named out there because I don't think it's been going on over.
25.
It's under 30 years.
Yeah, right.
You're on a pretty small list, really,
Yeah.
coming from Amarillo.
So you came back and you just went back to
Just went back to doing
working.
daily life.
Yeah. How do you see cowboy changing in the next 20 years? I mean, AI is not going to get into the cowboy world, is it?
No,
Well, I was thinking maybe they could make this electronic deal that counts your cattle for you. Just mount on top of the truck. That way, if you're like me and don't count very good,
Right.
at least we get a good, accurate count.
Well, the cattle keep moving around when you're trying
Yeah,
to
but
count them.
this AI could even spot out a sick one for you, Jimbo. You never know.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
it's
wondering
getting crazy.
What's going to happen?
yeah. But if it does, somebody still got to go out there and doctor him.
Yeah, but it might just be somebody that needs to program a robot to do
Yeah,
it or
could
something.
could be. Hopefully there's enough youth coming up and everything else to, like I said,
It is looking good around here for our youth coming up. Those
Oh, yeah.
Roberts boys and the Campbell boys and some of the others. They're pretty damn good hands. Pretty damn good hands. I expect big things out of some of these guys coming up here in the coming years.
and there's enough people around to still appreciate the old, just like dragging your calves and stuff. Yeah, you don't have to, but, we're going to do it that way just because
Right.
that's the way it was done. That's the way we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Keep it alive.
What's the worst storm you ever got into when you got cowboy?
Oh, God. I don't even know.
Nothing too bad, I guess.
No,
You'd
I mean
remember it?
I've been in a lot of wrecks, and unfortunately, luckily I've never been. I don't know how, but I've never had any big severe. I've had horses flip over me, been hung to them, and never. I've always come out.
That's what scared
just
me, a
fine.
horse rearing up and coming over backwards. That's dangerous.
Yep, I had one flip over on me one time. I got on him, and he was kind of humped up, and he wasn't even a bronc. He was a pretty good horse. And of course, then it didn't bother me. I was like, you on a buck? Let's go. And I run an iron in him, and he took about 2 jumps. He jumped straight up, flipped over backwards, landed on top of me. And when we hit the ground, I was trying to kick loose from him, and the way he rolled over, he was on top of me, and my upper body from about my waist up was in between his front and back legs.
Yeah.
I don't know how I ended up in that situation. But then as he went to trying to get up, and all I could do was just kind of cover my head and everything, and he flopped around. And he finally, I still had to hold my reins, and I kind of had his head pulled up, and he finally stopped. And I couldn't get out from underneath him. He weighed so much money. And finally, I let him have it again, and it just kind of rolled over. When he got up, I kind of crawled to where I knew I was away from him. When I rolled over, he was bucking across there, and I just kind of laid there and looked at the sky for a little bit, caught my breath. But yeah, I've been pretty lucky. I broke my arm. I've kind of had little deals, but nothing.
I'm always kind of amazing that when you watch these guys on the Cowboy channel now, and the guy they'll get bucked off right underneath the horse. Very few times do you ever see a horse actually step on someone, unless it was that horse that was on the internet.
They just
the other
barely
day.
miss, or something.
Yeah. It looks like they don't even want to hit them.
Yeah, right.
I've hit the ground before. Been in some stuff, and people be like, "Oh, you about got kicked in the head," or in the moment you don't see it, you don't think about it. You hit the ground, you get up, and you don't think nothing of it. And I guess pretty lucky.
Cody, my grandfather said one time they were practicing somewhere. I don't know if they were roping calves or steer, but they were in the practice pen. I don't even know who all was there. He told me at the time, but one of them had a horse that it was sire in the box. You couldn't get him in. You couldn't lead him in there. You couldn't job him with your spurs, get him in there.
I've seen a few of them like that.
And my grandfather said, "Well, let me see him a minute." He got on him, and remember them little hot shots that used to use, them little metal hot shots? Not them old big long plastic ones, but they were just those little short ones that they'd use. He said, "Let me see that hot shot." And said, I pointed him toward that box, and I jobbed him with that hot shot, and says he jumped in that box and turned around like you're supposed to, but said he come out of there on his hind legs and reared over, come over backward. He said, that sucker's head hit right next to me. He said, and I never ever hot shot the horse again. But he got him in the box.
Those horses, they get if that's all you do is rope on them, they get to where they really dread going in that box.
Oh, yeah. He said, you couldn't lead this sucker in there. But that hot shot put him in there, but he come out wrong.
I had a bulldogging horse like that in high school, Jimbo. It took 3 or 4 people to hold this little mare in the box.
Yeah.
If you're just warming her up, you couldn't even slow her down. She'd just run off with you. It was, she was a scary little mare sometimes.
Yeah, they aren't even good. What about these cattle prices? Are they not crazy? I mean, just crazy.
Pretty unbelievable, really.
What's scary, we've all seen. I've never seen anything like this, but we've always had those ups and downs, and there's always going to be a down. I just hate to see people.
I know.
That's what it's.
I've got people. They'll ask me. What do you think? Right now, I mean, I'm not trying to buy anything.
It's good if you already have them. That's for sure. Right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of one of them that I feel like if I was to go try to jump out there and buy something, as soon as I did, it'd go the other way, and there I'd be. Yeah. So it's and everybody keeps thinking it's gonna fall pretty quick, and it just seems like it just keeps going.
I know. As long as the numbers stay down, why it'll stay up there. But
yeah,
you'd think it'd eventually catch up on the numbers.
It's got.
They sold a lot of cows the last few years, in those drought-ridden areas, and killed them.
The numbers are down. Crazy.
It is crazy.
And the roping steers at the border, $1,400 for roping steers at the border.
Can you imagine a roping calf right now? I mean, a good roping calf costs more than a roping steer, $1,400. I mean, it's crazy. I couldn't imagine being a stock contractor this day and age right now with the price of cattle, because it just doesn't make any sense. Somebody told me some weaning calves, just bottle babies, they're bringing $1,000 to $1,100 for bottle babies.
I've got 2 bottle calves right now that the boys fed this morning, and I told Amber, I said,
it makes me wonder why the hell they didn't want just shipping all their babies out right off the bat instead of feeding them for another, doctoring them and taking death loss. I mean, heck, $1,100 for a bottle calf looks pretty damn juicy, and then you can just let your cows sit until they get good and flat, breed them again.
But it makes you wonder what rodeo's going to look like, if it keeps going like that, or what they're going to be roping is what I mean,
Yeah, we're going through that right now with the Ben Johnson. We hadn't even secured a cattle supplier for it yet. There's normally a guy up in this area, in Oklahoma, Kansas, northern Texas, that takes care of all the rodeos up here. Mm-hmm. And as of right now, there isn't a guy. So we're probably going to get it figured out, but they're going to have to come from a little further away than normal.
Better get a good buy on some plastic horns.
Yeah.
But who wants to rope a $1,500 heifer either?
$2,000 heifer.
Yeah,
Who knows? This is
$2,000,
crazy.
whatever. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely unprecedented what's going on. It's good to see a lot of these guys making
Oh
some
yeah,
money, though.
yeah, they're getting healed up. They can't get healed up now. They're
That's right.
in bad shape.
That's right. What about the? You won something here at the rodeo here in Pawhuska.
Yeah, I won a top horse.
Top horse.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I think.
Some people claim that winning the top horse is bigger than winning the top hand. Really,
That was another surprise to me too. I really wasn't expecting it. She's a great mare. My kids, they actually ride her now. They kind of laid claim to her, but she's pretty nice. She's just the right kind. I've thought about selling her, and once them kids they went to riding her, she's got her permanent home now.
Do most of the ranchers today let you ride your own horses, or they want you to ride ranch horses?
Yeah, most everybody's riding their own horses. Okay. Like I said, I think that's kind of a thing of the past as far as the ranches raising their. I mean, there's still ranches that do it, but about everybody's just riding their own horses right now.
You know, when I first moved over here, Jimbo, I was day working, and I was day working out there for Ford Drummond, and the second day I was working there, I got in all kind of trouble from him because I didn't know you weren't supposed to use your rope. You know, when we were pinning cattle. And we had
That's
one.
why you went, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I had a rope. One took off and started running off. And the hell, I rope and drug that booger in. And everybody working there was a bunch of old hands around there. They told me how much trouble I was in when I got back because Ford was sitting up there. You know, he was up there counting cattle or something. So, yeah, I got in all kind of trouble.
I've probably told this story before, but when Ike Rude was working on the Matador Ranch when he was just a kid, but Ike was notorious for roping. I mean, he was going to rope wherever he was at. And they were branding cattle, and the boss was there. And somebody didn't like Ike when they were branding cattle. He said, and this big ranch, you know, just miles of it. He said, you can tell everywhere Ike Rude's been on this ranch by just following the crippled cattle. And Ike knocked him down with the branding iron, they said.
Yeah. Well, some of them ranchers don't really like you roping their cattle for some reason.
Funny, yeah, you're just practicing.
Well, he was getting away.
I got to where now if I go day work somewhere as we're gathering something, I'll make it a point to ask. Now, is this one of them deals if something leaves? Mm-hmm. Is this for sure enough go get them and catch them, or are you going to let them go, or what? You know, just to save from that roping something and getting in trouble. You know, I usually try to check beforehand, kind of know what to expect.
Well, this deal I was at was a lot more of a wreck than I even let on because there was an old guy, R.C. Adkins. He was taking care of that place, and he hadn't moved these cattle off of this one little trap for years, and no one really realized it. And you couldn't get them out of this little trap. I mean, it was virtually impossible. we ended up having to rope several more of them and haul them in. But it was actually a pretty bad deal. I didn't realize that you couldn't leave your cattle in that same pasture, you know, if you ever wanted to gather them.
Yeah. R.C. Atkins, that's another blast from the past. I remember him well.
I used to ride around the feed truck with him when I was little.
Yeah, he was a character.
Yeah, he was a good dude.
So many of them old cowboys, they're gone now, you know. It's kind of sad when you think about it, but it's Osage County legends, you know.
Yes, sir.
The old guys, they are dying off.
Yeah,
with the old ways. You know, the biggest trouble I ever got into on our ranch down there, where my dad and them had, is we went and gathered the same pasture almost every day. And I went and done the same thing almost every day. You know, they'd send me on the outside and start shooting them their way. Well, my grandpa was with us, and you had to follow him, and he'd tell you which way to go by an arm signal, you know, if you're behind him. And I just went ahead and trotted on by him and went and done what I'd done every time. Well, he didn't send me that way that day, and I rode by him and rode in front of him, and boy, howdy, I'd never seen my grandpa so mad as he was that day at me. I didn't know. And then I went and worked at this other ranch over here, and they didn't do any of that, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I guess it's just different ranches have different rules. Some of them have older rules. Some of them have no rules. Some of them have some rules that you don't know about.
I wonder how much different it is, like if you went to Nebraska and some of those big ranches.
I haven't really been, you know, anywhere much out of Oklahoma, but I do know, you know, you've got, just like Cody was saying, your jig line, you know, and you start to see, I didn't really see it much around here growing up. when you went together pasture, you just kind of, everybody just took off. You'd trot side by side going across there, visit. You get to the backside, you'd split up, and everybody just kind of knew about the pasture, knew how far to be apart, and you just went together to the pasture, you know. And now, and I don't know if it's people are using a little more day workers that's not familiar with country or what, but, you know, you'll kind of strike out in a jig line, and same thing like Cody said, they'll go to hollering out and drop you off, and they'll kind of scatter you out, and then they'll holler off, and everybody just kind of start across the same time, and it works. I mean, it's
just an older way of doing it, I feel like.
Yeah, I said, growing up when I was little, we never shoot. And then when I'd see people doing it, I'm like, I don't want to, trying to visit with you, I don't want to be trotting behind you, you know. I can't hear the guy behind me trying to visit with me. Get up here, and that's my dad. He don't get up here where I can hear you, you know, trot beside me. And that's just kind of how I grew up was,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, we didn't do any visiting. Every now and then you might hear like a, oh, or something out in the distance, and you knew what you were supposed to do. But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of visiting. My grandpa was a pretty serious old fella when it came to stuff like that. Boy, I kept him mad all the time.
Was this your dad's dad, Pete?
Oh yeah, my dad's dad, Pete.
Yeah.
He's an old Matador ranch hand from the Matador Ranch. Yeah. But,
you know, it's a little different country too. You get out there and a lot of that rough stuff, you know, you can't see. It's not like it's prairie up here. You know, a lot of this stuff, when you scatter out, you can see for a ways. You can see that next guy, or, you know, kind of where the cattle and stuff are. You know, you really don't have to be as vocal trying to communicate, which now, of course, everybody's got cell phones.
Right.
And you can call and
Yeah.
shoot a text if you need some help or something.
Yeah.
our old ranch down in McAllister was nothing but rocks, cedar trees, and ticks.
Yeah.
About guaranteed. Someone's going to get a stone bruise, and you're going to have to be picking ticks no matter what time of year it was. The ticks were pretty bad down there. But yeah, that's what ours was.
What was it? Pike was telling us they called it. They was wanting to run some steers down there on his granddad's ranch down there, where, you know, down in that area.
Yeah.
He said, how many cattle can you handle? He said, I've got pasture for 100 and shade for 600.
You know, one time he told me that Clark, you know, Reba's dad, Pake's dad, this perfume company came around to him, and they were going to buy their cedar trees for like $50 a piece or something to get this sap out of them to put in the perfume.
Right.
And he said the problem was that 2 cedar trees made 5 gallons of sap, and that's all they needed and left.
Well, speaking of cedar trees, did they not burn up a lot of houses and stuff down in that Manford and that area? It's mostly the old cedar trees just carrying that fire.
Yeah, when them things light up, they're like a bomb. They go up fast.
Yeah, down in southeast Oklahoma, that's all there is down there is cedar trees, pretty much. I mean,
They said that fire burned up like 400 homes, and nobody even talks about it. I mean, that's like it was out in California.
I didn't even know that it done that many homes.
That's what it said in the paper.
No
I
kidding.
don't know, but it burned up a bunch of them. Killed 3 or 4 people.
Did you
I
grow
mean,
up-
that's hard to imagine in Oklahoma, you know, but dang, I'm sure did.
Yeah, I didn't
thought-
even know 400 houses burned up.
Yeah, Manford and Stillwater, all down in that.
Oh, yeah.
The governor's.
Well, we were out of town.
house.
We were like in Colorado or somewhere, and I turned on the local news there this morning, and it had Stillwater burning to the
Yeah,
ground. Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah.
It was just a month or two ago.
Yeah, yeah. It was that day when the wind blew so hard.
Yeah, it dang sure was.
Yeah. You were out of town for that? You missed all that wind?
I missed all that wind, Jimbo. I was flying a kite, and it took me to Colorado. You wouldn't believe it.
Right.
These damn winds and fires about got my house a couple times.
I know.
We've never ever had a problem. And last fall we had some big winds, crazy big winds.
Right.
You know, they were sending in these big airplanes dropping this red stuff on everything, and then the same thing happened this winter.
Yeah.
But yeah, those fires, they about blew them right to our house. It's the dangest thing I've ever seen.
Oh, it's crazy.
But I got a lot of cedar trees around the house. I got to do something about that.
Yeah. I don't know how they could ever control. I mean, they've been trying to control them for years. I don't know if they haven't spent enough money or what. But
They burn a lot up here, don't they?
Yeah.
What's it like during burn season up here? I hadn't actually been out on one of the trucks or anything.
It's really, I mean, it's pretty organized
Is
for
it?
the most part. I mean, every once in a while you'll have one get away, but there's so many big trucks, and these guys have been doing it for so many years now. It's pretty well organized, and
It's kind of crazy. I haven't been around until I moved up to this country where almost every ranch has their own fire truck.
yep,
And then everyone gets together and helps everybody
yep.
contain them, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. You go to anytime there's a fire, there's all kinds of those big trucks show up.
Some
And
fancy fire trucks around here, privately owned ones.
When I was a kid, everybody just had those little beam sprayers that fit on the back of a.
Well, that's
a
when
feed
I was
truck.
little. That's
Yeah.
I don't remember how many of them they had, but everybody, if there was a fire, you'd run to the shop out there at Drummond's and jump in one of them 3/4 1-ton trucks, and somebody'd be on the back with a gun, and it'd get pretty wild. I think it's a little safe now, safer than what it used to be.
Yeah.
Those old roads get dusty and you can't see. A few years ago, a couple of them trucks had a head on, one full of water and one going back to fill up with water.
Yep.
Right. I know it. They drive through that smoke, boy.
Between the dust on the roads and the smoke,
I know
does it get pretty hard to see out there?
It does. It gets hard to see, and you can get yourself in pretty dangerous situations. You know, you go to looking too. You get in a lot of this country, you'll run into a seep you don't really know about.
Yeah, you get
You're
stuck.
moving along, and you bury
bad news.
You bury one of them big trucks. It's kind of hard to get out. A lot of weight there.
One time I buried a truck, and we had 3 tractors at the house and 2 feed trucks. And by the time it was all said and done, we had everything hooked to a chain, trying to pull out the first one, and everything else got stuck trying to pull out that first one. I think we had to get a dang wrecker truck to come in and get all 4 or 5 vehicles out.
Yep.
It was the biggest mess you ever saw, Jimbo.
Oh, I've
Another one of them deals that made my grandpa
field.
real proud that day, too.
Yeah. I've seen some stuck in the oil field where you had to get a dozer, call a dozer out of town, to get you out.
The worst one I ever had is we got in a few pot loads of roping steers right before Odessa, and this is in the middle of January. Big ice storm came and killed 100 and something head. Just they laid down and froze to death. My grandpa was out there doing something, and he drove over one of them, got high centered on one of these old frozen steers, and I had to get a chainsaw out and cut that sucker out from underneath him.
Nice.
That's the worst time we ever been stuck.
Imagine.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad deal.
Well, some of them cold spells, them rainy cold spells can kill some cattle, and stuff. You wouldn't think it, but.
It killed a potload of them.
And those goats and sheep. I remember Jim Bob Altizer, when I was a kid, they was talking about he had, I don't know how many 100 head of I don't know if they're Angora goats or sheep or what they were, but he'd just sheared them, and it come one of them crazy spring cold spells and killed a whole bunch of them.
I'm just glad we don't have to deal with the snow like they do up north.
Yeah.
These little cold snaps are
thank
plenty
goodness.
for me.
But Jim Bob was down in South Texas when it happened, and it just cold rain just got them after they just sheared them.
Yeah, I was out at Guyman one year, and they had a bunch of fresh steers just came from Mexico, and it came a big cold rain, and it was a devastating deal for that guy that had them. One of them deals. I mean, if you're gonna have livestock, you're gonna see all kind of crazy stuff through your career and owning
I'm
them.
glad I've got some chickens now.
Chicken farmer, Jimbo.
I know.
Good Lord.
Got some guineas too.
Guineas.
Yeah.
They keep the ticks ate up though, don't they? Is that what I hear?
I haven't seen any, but they do. They're picking at something all the time.
You gonna write a song about chicken ranching?
No, that's not very romantic.
All right. My dad never even allowed my mom to cook chicken or turkey growing up or anything. If it wasn't beef.
Some of my family's the same way.
One time we got some horse meat in and we ate that. He didn't tell anybody until my mom cooked it.
Yep.
But it's one of those deals. One of those deals. I bet you grew up going to the Ben Johnson roping, didn't you?
I did every year. That's a family tradition. I think there might have been one, maybe 2 steer opens that I haven't been at.
It's quite a good weekend.
Oh,
it always has been.
It was always, growing up, I think that other than maybe one other occasion through the year, that was the only time I got to wear starched clothes. We made sure that my clothes were starched, and that was the weekend we looked forward to was that weekend.
They used to have this cattleman's dance there when I first started going,
when I was a kid.
like entering the Ben Johnson or going when I was a kid. That thing was huge.
Yeah. When I was a kid, Cody, they had the dance, the barbecue and dance on Friday night at the country club.
Oh, okay.
And that was really a big deal to go up there.
A lot of things have changed.
Oh, I know.
I remember when I was little, the dance, it was big enough that it about looked like a cavalcade dance when you go by there. There'd be people
it did.
plumb back to the fence.
There were people parked across the street, all
Yeah.
up and down the road, and just packed house in that dance area.
Yeah, and I don't know.
It just kind of, it it kind of started going back downhill, and then now it's all going back uphill.
Yeah.
It's just the way things go.
Yep.
I've been to Cheyenne for some reason where it wasn't real popular for a couple of years, but now it's came back in full force. So
I think what you guys have done with it too, it's piqued a little more interest. There's more than just the few little events that go on, and you got something for everybody now.
Yeah, the cattlemen's, they got their luncheon and trade show, and they have their ranch tour, and then we picked up the slack with we've started putting on a concert right after the rodeo now, and then got it WCRA approved, WRCA approved, Women's Ranch Rodeo approved, Youth approved. This year we're going to be having a RHAA, Ranch Horse Association of America show that's a qualifier for their finals in Abilene. And the Steer Open's PRCA sanctioned this year, so we're taking the top 30 in the world and then 10 qualifiers from Claremore's Rodeo here in a couple weeks. So it's going to be quite the weekend. Quite the weekend this year.
Yeah.
Got a old Forrest Smith. Forrest Smith's coming. Try to steal all our women, probably.
Yeah.
And my grandma, she'll be excited. She's real big on him.
I think it's a pretty good show. It really is. A lot of guys, if you grow up ranching and rodeoing and stuff, you got to laugh at part of it, but it's really shined a good spotlight on our way of life. A lot of people are interested in it.
Yeah, it's been big.
Can't buy a house in Montana anymore. What about your boys? They going to follow up in your footsteps?
I hope so. I say that. I kind of want them to be kind of whoever they want to be, but like I've told them too, and as long as you're living in my house until you're out of there, you really don't have much choice. You're going to have to help me. But no, they enjoy it. Huck, my oldest, he's ever since he was little had a rope in his hand, and he likes rope. He's pretty handy with it. But
you can ask him what he likes to do, and he said dragging calves is his main thing. Old Huck. Last time I talked to him.
he's already been on me. We're going to start dragging calves this spring.
I'm not going to sell him a calf table either, am I?
I said, Huck, what have you been up to? He said, dragging calves. Is what he said.
I don't know if he's ever seen a calf put through a table.
Yeah, I don't even know. Is that like I'm so stupid. I don't even know what one really looks like. Is it like a working chute that you drive them into?
It's a little narrow chute, and once they get
and then
in there,
it flips over, I guess.
You pull it, pins them. It's wide, it's kind of a V, but it has notches, or at least mine did, where you grab it and it'd catch them. You could just snug them right up there, and then it flips over. You pull a pin, and it flips over, and then you open the door, and you just get to the nuts and just whatever you want to do.
Yeah, when I was growing up, that's how we worked them. We seldom ever drug calves when I was little. That's just how they did it, and I think they still out there, run quite a few of them through the table. And also you're seeing nowadays too, like when I was growing up, if we did drag calves, I didn't drag, kids didn't drag. You had the older guys, they were the one dragging, and now you go to some of these calf dragons and I put my kid in there too, but there's some of these kids that are pretty dang handy, and they can out drag a lot of grown men. They're getting pretty good at it.
Yeah, a lot of these ropers, we haven't seen anything yet what some of these kids are capable with the rope. We're just now starting to see, the time where people started taking this roping pretty serious, taking their kids out of school, homeschooling them, hauling them to rope, and we're just now starting to see those kids turn into the professionals with, Chance Kelton and like Riley O'Rourke and some of them boys. It's just, it's going to be unbelievable what these guys can do with a rope. They're roping better. They can do more things with a rope than anybody's ever been able to do, ever. Some of these kids can do tricks that don't even seem possible, with a rope. It just, it's good to see.
Yeah.
It's good to see a bunch of good hands coming up.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids around here that are already, dang good health. They're showing up, to day work, and they're doing a grown man's job, and they're gonna be some pretty good cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what happens when you grow up doing it. Don't know no better, and you grow up learning right from the people, and even these new guys coming in, that weren't cowboys before, if they didn't grow up in it. Most time it's a family tradition and a family business, but these other guys, they got to find them a mentor to look up to and learn the ropes from too. So it all goes back to the old guys, 100%. Still. I don't see that changing much for a while.
No.
Well, Corey, we appreciate you coming on today, man.
Thanks for
What
having
else you got for Corey, Jimbo?
Oh, nothing. Just keep up the good work. Keep that cowboy lifestyle going.
His dad was quite a cowboy, too.
Yeah, well.
He told me one time he ran the largest buffalo ranch in America for Ted Turner.
Yeah, one time that ranch out there had more buffalo on it than any other ranch
Yeah.
in the United States.
Did you have to go help him with the buffalo, Winnie?
Yeah, and we did a lot of stuff horseback with them things. We'd move him. And
I was going to ask you what the difference is in working calves and buffalo.
yeah, they're a little different. I mean,
They will chase you, too, once in a
yeah,
while.
they're a little. I always kind of talked about it was like trying to gather a school of fish. Buffalo, any move they make, they'd move together, and you'd be moving pastures with them, and you get up to a gate, kind of get them in a corner to a gate. Well, they'd all just they go to feeling that pressure, that fence, they turn around and face you, and you couldn't drive them through that gate. Best thing you could do is just back off of them and give them a minute to kind of
They can
chill
see the
out,
gate, yeah.
and then they see the gate, and then once they see it, they're through it. But yeah, they're a different animal for sure.
Can they jump a fence?
They can jump a fence and they can run, and I was always told you couldn't rope a buffalo. We roped a few of them out there, and it wasn't, they'd kind of get on a fight, but a lot of times they'd handle. They were yearlings. They wasn't big buffalo, but they damn shoot. You'd have
Sometimes
them.
that rope get caught down in
That
the
was,
wool.
I think that
and
was a
choke 'em.
lot of it, but I had some one time got out, and I had one I was trying to get, and I was riding Big Bay horse. He could run. He was fast, and I messed with this buffalo. And I just like, all right, I'm gonna catch you, and I had him lined out, and I kicked up there, and about the time I stood up and went to swing, I was gaining on him. It was almost like he looked over his shoulder and he grabbed a gear and he left me in the dust. And I couldn't believe how fast them things could run. So,
That's what my Uncle Joe said. He was around them up at Mullendore, and he said those pictures of those Indians running up there shooting with bow and arrows, so that was just for
I don't
make-believe.
I
He
don't think
said-
I don't think
he
a horse
said
could keep up with one.
Right, that's what he said.
And they could run a long ways. Now, you'd get to where, if you'd ride in there and then buffalo go run off, you just kind of circle the inside that pasture and let him circle the perimeter. And eventually
Yeah,
he'd get tired, but you're not just going to go 2-1 and chase them. They're fast.
that's what he said.
Up there in Kansas, where I grew up, Jimbo, they had a park about a mile from our house, and it was a drive-through park. They had deer and buffalo and elk and all kind of animals turned out in these big pens. And one time, this buffalo was big booger too. He got out, and the mayor of the town we were living in called my dad, said, Mr. Garnett, can I talk to you about maybe helping us get this buffalo gathered up? So he was out on the golf course there, and my dad just rode over there and roped him around the horns and tied him down right there on the golf course. And they got him and hauled him back to town. But that's the best buffalo story I got.
My neighbor had one time. I don't know why he even had him, and I was up there riding an old gentle horse, and he was with some cows, and they were shaded up, just standing there in the shade, and I just rode up pretty close to him, and he looked at me and snorted and just took off after me for no reason. I never rode up around him again.
Yeah, these buffalo that I'm talking about, we'd ride down to the river, our horses, to the Arkansas River. We lived right on it. And you could ride back behind the pens. And if you did, the buffalo, they would run to the fence and hit it, trying to get to you. Yeah. If I had any idea they could get out, I probably wouldn't have been jacking with them at the time.
Joe said if they had calves and they wanted to go through a fence, that those cows would rear up and lay that fence down for the calves to go across sometimes. Crazy.
That is
Because
crazy.
they couldn't jump. You knew the calves couldn't jump it, but they'd water the damn fence down for the calves to cross.
I think a fence is nothing for a big old buffalo.
No, just in their way a little bit.
Like a cow. I don't know how many big old cows I ran through the fence. They don't even care about them sometimes. Yep. They don't even care about them sometimes.
No.
We had this one renegade roping steer that we couldn't keep in. And my dad told me to go get this sucker one day. And he jumped like 10 fences. I still haven't seen that steer to this day. He's gone forever, living down there on a creek somewhere.
I had one time I roped on the Fairfax golf course, and I don't know how many fences we went through, but it was the same deal. It was going across there, and by the time I catch up to him, he'd hit a fence. By the time I'd go find a gate, catch back up to him, he'd hit another fence, and ended up catching him all the way on the golf course.
I had one on a roping steer one time and roped him. I can't remember how my But I lost the rope and the steer, and I was chasing him, and he just jumped the fence. And never saw him again. I don't know if he got rope hung up and he starved to death. I mean, nobody ever said nothing.
Right outside town here, I had to rope one, and I was going down there at a time, and the sucker got up and ran through the fence, and my horse was on this side of the fence, and the steer was on that side of the fence, just a yearling, and I really thought I was going to be in a big wreck that day. Cut my rope.
Yeah.
Well, Corey, we sure appreciate you coming on, and we're sure real proud of you around here on all your great accomplishments in the ranch rodeo world.
Appreciate it.
And that's about all I got today, Jimbo.
All I got.
All right.
We pinned quite a few of them today.
We pinned quite a few of them today. I told everyone about all my screw-ups pinning stuff. So
Yeah.
I got plenty more screw-up stories, though.
Oh, I bet you did.
Yeah, plenty more. Stayed in trouble
Yeah.
everywhere.
Maybe we just do a podcast sometime just on your screw-ups.
Yeah, I wish I could remember them all, Jimbo. I've made a lot of memories for people. I just don't remember them all. Corey, we appreciate you coming in, and good luck this year.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Don't forget to come by the museum. Don't forget to hit
That's
the
a good
Bucking
looking book you
Flamingo.
got there, too.
Yeah, it is. I want to thank Vic Carmen, one of our old buddies.
Yeah,
I was
made me
giving him a
Cody
hard
both.
time that he made Jimbo one, and he felt so bad about it, he made me one too.
Yep.
Appreciate that, Vic.
Me too, because I was always having to give you paper and stuff.
That's right.
For a podcast.
I still have Jimbo carry mine around for me so we don't lose it.
Yeah.
He sets it out for me before every podcast now. And I do got some good notes in here. Look at this.
Oh,
Corey.
yeah.
Look at that. I drew a smiley face and wrote a couple people's names down in it. It's working good for me. Appreciate it, Vic. All right. We'll see everybody next week. Don't forget your Shorty's Cowboy Hattery.
Absolutely. Later.
All right. See y'all.